That works.
Okay, test. Test, test. No, it's not working. Test, test. I love this one. Very emotional. Test. Oh, it works. Very good. Everybody. Hello, everybody. Something is wrong with sound, yeah? Oh, it's okay. Okay, very good. Great. Um, Again, hello, everybody. I'm happy that we are here today. My name is Ekaterina Firsova. I'm a chair director of Altenar, and I'm happy to welcome you on our first Malta Business Talks. Okay, very short summary. First of all, who is here in Altenar for first time? Please raise your hands. A lot, really. Wow. Well done. Um, Great. Short story. I will not about Altenar because it will be a presentation of our first speaker, but a little bit about story of such kind of meetups. Because we are a big international company, we have around 500 employees. To be honest, right now 482, around 500. We'll have 500 soon, and we are already preparing a fun email. Something is with sound, no? Something is wrong. Dear team, can you please help me? Okay? Okay. I really love this one. Okay. Oh, it's better. Let's try again. Very good. Okay. Is it better? Finally. Good, thanks. Very good. Okay, what's about meetups? Around half of a year ago, we have started to organize Malta Tech Talks. Please raise your hands who already had a chance to participate in Malta Tech Talks. Okay, not a lot. Okay, but very good. Maybe better. Okay. Okay. What is Malta Tech Talks? It is an opportunity to share ideas in IT auditory, to share maybe some thoughts, some new technologies, and just for networking. And these first three meetups were very successful. That's why we decided why we cannot repeat the same experience in business fair. That's why we try to organize with Malta Business Talks to share our ideas, to share our experience, and I'm so happy that it became true today. Well, let's start, and I'm so happy to invite our first speaker, Dinas, who is CEO of Altenar. Welcome, Dinas.
Now it's okay. Welcome everyone. So let me put it behind. Okay. So welcome to the first business talks of Altenar. I am Dinos. My long Greek name is not interesting for you, I guess. Okay. And I would like first to give you a very short description of what is Altenar. That's not a sales pitch. You shouldn't buy anything today. Really. Altenar, we are in the gambling business. We call it gaming because that's more politically correct. I don't mind to be there. So that's because the camera. Okay, hi. How many people we have online? Not many. 3,000? Okay. Okay, not 3,000. Not yet. Anyway, so we are in the gambling, gaming industry, name it as you like. We prefer to say software. That's even more politically correct. I am already surprised that Kate said we are top 482. I think last month was 20 people less. What does it mean? 2 weeks ago. Oh, okay. So it means that we're moving up, we're growing. We want to position ourselves as a sportsbook provider and platform provider in gaming. We work with many countries around the world. We are happy. We like what we're doing. And as I say, we don't want to sell the company, guys. We want to keep growing. And that's, in my opinion, the most important element in doing business. And I think this is Altenar. You can always ask questions about it. And then I would say, as Kate said, we had to try to do the technical discussion, tech talks. And I will explain why. But say, let's do also some other discussion. No need to be always technical. It was boring for me because I don't understand, even though, funny enough, I'm an engineer. Okay. Okay. That's okay. You can see there. It's different picture, guys. Anyway, if we can fix it, we can fix that. Otherwise, I will describe the picture or the photo. So, there is a natural, in my opinion, necessity of every person as a human need to express yourself and make public what you are experiencing. Everyone needs it. Usually, to do that, the best to describe, you need friends. And I thought also, we thought that, especially our technical people, that they are more introvert. They have a necessity to express themselves, to say, this is what I'm doing. And that's how it started. Because people are saying, what's your objective? Well, what's our objective? Objective is to express ourselves. And since it went well with the technical people, I do hope that business people have been a little bit better communication skills. So let's try. Let's try to express ourselves. Let's try to find friends. You say to your friends your problems, you say what you're doing, and here we are today. So, someday maybe we have an audience like that in Malta, elsewhere, we don't know. So that's the objective. That's why we're here today. And unfortunately, I have to be the first one that you have to listen. And what I'm doing in this company. No, there. Okay. I'll try. It will adapt. No, you are going too fast. That's too fast. That's better. So what I'm doing in this company, one of the things I had to do is and was sales. Why? We had no salespeople. We had no money to get anyone. Believe it or not, I am an engineer. And I had to do sales. This doesn't work very well. But somehow, I would like to give you a little bit of description of the experience I have. I want to share with you what happened. And through this experience, I want to emphasize certain points. More likely, you will find that if anyone in sales here is better than me. Who is sales, by the way? Is anyone claiming sales professional? Okay, you are only two, please don't disclose what I don't know. At least the rest will believe that I'm a specialist. Anyway, so this is the point today is I give you this experience that I had. You can ask questions, and by this interaction, maybe you feel yourself a bit better because you know that a salesperson in front of you is worse than you. Going more, when you have to start to be a salesperson, the most important element is you should, you must have a need. You need to be. You have to decide that. You have to work with your internal self, inner self. You have to remove what I say, okay, now it comes. All internal conflicts. Many people have internal conflicts. Many people working in this industry, and not only, as a sales especially, they don't believe what they're doing. You have to believe what you do. You have to make sure that you have everything inside you sorted. You have to get decisions. You have to go out and you need to know what to do. Or to know, at least to know that what you're doing, you like it. And then you must create a profile. That's probably the easier one. Okay, there are techniques, but you have to say, I am a sales, I have no internal conflicts, I'm going out, and I am motivated. Sam, you are sales, you didn't raise your hand. You did, but was with a beer. Okay. So this is the most and basic element. You have to become a salesperson with one rule. Because I hear many things say, well, it's sales, they're lying, they're overselling. The rule has always to be one. You should never lie. Imagine I'm coming from an engineering background and I had to go out to sell something. You have to present it better than it is. No. You have to present it as it is. With nice words. And probably we have to, oh, that's perfect. Well, there is a defect here. You have to present it the other way around. Don't put the defect in front. It won't work. But you should never lie. If the other say, does it have any defect? Yes. Yes. And surprisingly, it happens in many sales efforts. When you're arriving to a point, say, you're facing a question that you have to disclose something, we will discuss later about it. You always have to say the truth. Always. We are not lawyers, we are sales. Who is lawyer, by the way? No lawyers today. Oh, we have a, okay, yes, Natasha, okay, don't worry. Excluded. Getting the apple back and moving forward. So first you have to create to be a salesperson. Okay. It will update a bit later. The second slide of this sales approach is how to become, after being a person, to become a professional. It takes time. I think it's the internet speed. If we sell software at the speed that our slide's changing, it won't go very well. Huh? Anyway, you have to become a professional. And to become a professional, I had identified 3 elements similar to the first one. You have to be on time, punctual. And never blame the other side if it's not on time. It's your customer. You can wait. I had to wait for 10 years to get a customer. It's fine. 10 years waiting time is not bad. 10 years. So, but you have to be on time. Anytime they ask, sometimes make sure that you are a couple of minutes before where you should be. And you have to make sure your presence is appropriate. This is something politically incorrect to instruct people. It could be personal. But if you want to sell, you must have an appropriate presence. I am not dressing like that daily. Suppose today I'm dressed well to sell. I like to come with shorts, with t-shirts. My wife calling me that I have no clue what clothes to wear. But when I have to go to sell, I need to be on the appearance to look right. What the customer wants to see. Fortunately or unfortunately, but it works. Especially, I'm not going to ask who is men, who is women here, but the male, they buy by the eyes. The ladies, they buy by heart. Fortunately or unfortunately, our audience are usually men. In the gaming, in some decision-making positions, that's a very unfair world. It is what it is. They buy by the eyes. Remember that. And I made an article actually, the third point, and I will go to the product. What is the standard plan? If you go to an expo, you go to the conference, you go to sell. It helps your body if you make a nice shower in the morning. Is it important? It is. It is important. Get yourself refreshed. People buy from energetic people. They will never buy from someone who feels boring. That's it. You are an actor. Hopefully this is the role of your life. But if not, it's not a bad thing. It's a profession. All these are standard. And now it comes the moment that I meet you and I have to tell you what I'm selling. I need to know what is an apple. I need to know the product. What am I selling? I have been in many presentations. I'm going there. The person who is selling me looks, it's very clear, has a mission to run the presentation, but does not understand even what the presentation is about. I will never buy from that. You need to know your product, whatever is that. Then you can become a sales professional, successful, very successful. Spend time to know your product, what you're selling, even if this is thin air. Thin air has secrets. And then, yes, we go to the third slide over there, but not here yet. How many online? 5,000? Not yet. Okay. The third slide for my friends here this way is, after become a professional, you can be a hero. Sam, that's for you. By the way, Sam is the new employee we have. Allow me this introduction. He is our new sales hero. He is reporting to Charlie, who is commercial director, but I hope Sam will score a few goals. Welcome. Anyway, I know you know all this. So, how to become a hero? You have to go the extra mile if you want to do it. Okay, I'll try to analyze, but you understand. Communication. Communication. Look your customer straight to the face. You have to look straight to the face. If the other guy is looking at you, you establishing connection. You smile. You're becoming serious. You see, the other side will smile when you smile. The other side will become serious when you are serious. You're establishing connection. It works. You have a chance to sell your product if you describe it properly. But if you go to the meeting, you talk to someone who is looking down, you try to talk to him and he's more likely go out, let him alone, bring your colleague, he has a chance. You don't have a chance, or your chances are limited. Speak clear. My Greeklish are very bad. I am not proud about my English. But everyone understands what I'm saying. I hope. Speak clear. You can say just a few things and the other side understands, it works. Imagine, okay, even if you sell to British, you have more chance if you speak clear. Don't get me wrong, depends where British are from. Well, I had to be student in Newcastle, in the North England. The day I landed, I said, oh my God, I studied English all my life, I don't know anything. I couldn't understand a thing. Yep. So speak clear. Get to know the other guys. I have the words, apart from communication, dedication and empathy. You understand. The empathy is a little bit a step beyond communication. You have to feel also the other side. Does the other side really want to talk to you? Not for the product, as a person. Are you interesting to them? Maybe not. It's disconnected or it's connected. At that moment, you can sell whatever you like. Okay, don't have strange thoughts. Okay, stay on the product. And I let the two things as tips at the end. It will help you a lot to make your mission accomplished if you know the backstory of the case. What is the actual motivation and problem of the person you speak with? Why this person is talking to you? What problem he has? If you know the backstory, you can position yourself accordingly. Let him talk, let him disclose. You will sell more sometimes if the other side talks. He will describe his problem, you will understand. Unfortunately, regardless if you can sort it out, more likely he will buy from you. It can happen, but that's important. And important, as we said before, disclose your weaknesses from the very first moment. Getting some years of experimentation, try to experiment myself, it works much better because after some time you know which questions are dangerous for you. And you can easily go in and say, guys, I have a fantastic product, but has two problems. I want to start from the problems. The other side is immediately feel surprised. That's not a demo. Say, wow. So you said, we don't do this and that. There is a big percentage that say, don't worry, we are not looking for that. And then you have a nice scenario to move on. Think about the contrary. You start with full in, everything is fine, and the other side, hey, what about it? We don't have it. Start by disclosing things. This and that, I don't know if I made my time, Kate. Is it enough?
Don't worry.
Yes, this and that, with now how many thousand people? Okay, anyway, this and that, I think this is what I had to share with you. It was an interesting journey for me. I started to try to be a salesperson around 2014. I think, Charlie, from now on I have to learn to avoid the sales, and I have to let everything on your team. So I wanted to disclose this amazing, let's say, journey so far. And it helped me, to be honest, to find a bit better of myself. And in my opinion, you don't have to be a sales professional to have all this. You can feel sales hero every day in your life. And by this, I'll try myself to sell to my wife why I am late going home. Thank you so much. And I hope that you found something interesting on all this. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Thank
Do you have any questions?
Give me a second, please.
Sir.
Unfortunately, my microphone died.
Don't worry. I can give you mine.
No. It's okay. But only one thing. Thank you for questions. I hope
We will,
Cannot.
we will
Listen.
repeat.
Please repeat. Exactly.
Let's hope I understand the questions,
Yes.
please.
I don't exactly have a question, but I have a comment which I find very interesting.
Please.
I thought the last part of what you said was the most important part, building that relationship. And you build that relationship by the beginning asking questions about the person. The person who asks the questions controls the direction of the conversation.
Correct?
So you might be trying to sell them an apple, but if they're allergic to apples or they have an apple tree in the garden, they're not going to be interested in your product.
That's
Might have
correct.
something else interesting. But certainly, I like very much the way that you expressed the empathy. My question would be, how would you best describe trying to build the empathy, get that connection?
Yes, well, for the benefit of our audience, let's say how I try to build the empathy when I'm interacting with some person. This sometimes goes accidentally. There is no match always. And after some point, I'm not answering directly, but after some point I have realized that I'm not the right person to talk to this particular person. Sometimes this is more important. Sometimes it's more important you understand that you are not the right person. And you have to work inside you and you step back and you give a chance to your colleague. How you feel it? It's simple things. You can understand after some point if the other guy you have in front of you is enjoying the conversation. The moment you see signs that someone is enjoying, smiling, laughing sometimes, sharing things, I think that's what it works at the end. Everyone decides with emotion. There is no objective criteria. Some cultures claim that they are more objective than other cultures. Fortunately or unfortunately, it's all emotional. So it matters how you sell it. You can be very successful. You go out and you say you can open something that 1,000 people do the same. If you do it better, you will be successful. You do it better because you like it. I remember once, actually, it's a funny story. A friend of mine asked me to go to some students, say a few things about business. And the first question I did was Saturday morning, 8:30. Saturday morning, 8:30. You are 20 years old. You don't want to be in a university class. And I made the question, say, guys, do you really like to be in this room now? Who does not like? 2 hands up. And I raised my hand as well. Out of 30, 28 raised the hand. Say, guys, if you don't want to be here, don't be here. You will never be successful. You will never sell the apple if you don't want to sell it. Make sure you are done with your internal conflicts. Don't sell it. You will be very successful not to sell the apple. Question? Yes?
Can you give some examples of these internal
Oh. Oh, that's a scary one, but I will do that. I remember I met with a guy. It does not matter the culture, it's okay. It was a guy from some country. And he came and he had one hand only. His hand, you don't ask, of course, what happened. You pretend everything is okay. And then, in between the others, I say, do you have problems? Say, I have problems. What's your problem? And the guy very much say, I need a hand. Okay. I spoke to his manager, and we arranged for him a medical visa in Germany to put a technical hand. He is our customer last 12 years. He will never go away. Did he bought sports book or a hand? He bought emotion. He will never leave. I don't want to find out. Yeah, well, that was different culture. Someday by the way, we need to make another session with cultures. That's dangerous, discriminating. But we can have fun if we are thinking how to... No, not online, not online. Even online. Anyway, other question. That's good. Oh, yes, Andre. Sorry, I have to be there, yes, because 5,000 people, oh no. Andre.
What was the most dangerous question that people asked you when you tried to sell them?
Please repeat the question.
Yes, what was the most dangerous question that people ask me? You know, about the job, I don't think it was anything dangerous, to be honest, but you have a fear inside you if the people ask something you don't have. That's why get rid of this fear immediately. Go to the meeting, disclose your weak point in a nice way. Anyway, dangerous question. I'll try to be honest, I want to answer that there are no dangerous questions because it does not come to my mind something that I felt really uncomfortable. But I still think the most dangerous question is every morning I'm facing in the office, people know, Dinos, how are you? That's very dangerous to think, how am I? And that's why usually I say I answer with a percentage. Because you can never be 100% fine. We are out of time. More questions?
What's the current percentage?
The day had some ups and downs, but I woke up in the morning, I made my shower, so immediately the 45% became immediately 72. Coming to the office, I discovered that I locked out of the parking, so I had to call Stefania. When Stefania answered, say, yes, Dinos, I'm coming, 84. And then I had some interesting discussion with some business talks, you know. It went a bit down, but now I feel good. Actually, I'm still in temptation, Sam. We go for beers instead of me going home. But if I do that, I will more likely 95, and then when I go home, it will go down to 30. Okay. With numbers, you can describe feelings.
Hi, what are the benefits? One question, you said you have a background in engineering.
Yes.
How did you navigate the switch from engineering to sales?
Whew, how I navigated from engineers to sales. Welcome. I did not. I studied naval architect and marine engineer. I spent 4 times in Far East to work in heavy industries, in shipyards. I did not like it. It was a very disappointing job that I did not enjoy every day. I was looking my watch to be 5 o'clock to get out of here. Going home, study. Okay, Manchester United, Liverpool, Real Madrid, Arsenal, if you want to say Arsenal. We can go actually to some crap teams around Europe. So that was my passion. I just like sports. And when I saw some companies say next to the teams, they have some numbers. So what's that? And I tried to find out why they have numbers, the odds. And I was interested, and then I started creating some kind of an archive, filing, studying. That was my hobby. So I switched actually from engineering to become a trader in sportsbook. From trader, I became a manager of traders. That's a difficult job, trust me. They are always right. Yeah? You know Andrea. They are always right. Yeah? And then from managing the traders, I saw something interesting. It's much more important and interesting. You don't manage the people below you. It's much more interesting to manage people above you. And then it's a different game starting. And then I decided to do my own job, my own business. I failed, big time. And then I had to sell. And if you fail in sales, you run out of money. So I went to the first meeting, disaster. Second meeting, disaster. Third meeting, you learn to shut up or you say things that you should. And you try to adapt yourself. That's how I ended up in sales. Please.
How would you deal with the situation if you don't like the client?
Is any customer you don't like? Can you give it to me, please?
Your personal liking as well, because that's
Yes, that.
relationship also.
I had my first approach, to be honest. I had a fight with him. 2012. I remember the guy. We had a fight over the phone. I regret it big time. We lost the customer. Yes, I have customers who, no, okay, who said that? That have an attitude. We visiting psychologists to make our internal conflicts done. You have to be always okay if you do it as a job. It's not life. If you don't like the customer, just work inside you and you have to filter what you listen. If it becomes dangerous, that's another story, but I hope not. I have been in meetings with witness that they threaten me that they throw me to the river in Nigeria. Remain silent. It will be okay. Correct some? It will be okay at the end. Yeah, well, so if you don't like someone, decide how you see him. If it's a customer, it's fine. You don't need to like all the customers. My opinion. Give me this customer, please. Next. No, well, it's enough. Huh? It's enough. We have very interesting speakers coming up.
So sorry.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Okay, great. Dina, thank you very much. What I suggest, we will have a very short break, 10 minutes. We have restrooms, one here, one in another part of the office. We still have a lot of drinks, food, and I'm waiting you here in 10 minutes at 7:26. Yeah.
Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. جرالو ده فرصة كهدا إليه هاي. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and
Hello, hello, hello.
On like this.
Okay. Hello, hello. That should be fine.
Okay.
Hello, 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 hello.
Wow, it looks like our IT department made a little bit of magic. Very good. Welcome back. Not everybody are here. I know that a lot of people are eating. I am super happy that our office manager department prepared so big amount of great food. Dear colleagues, we are waiting you. And we can start. I'd like to welcome Renza, who is our second speaker. Renza, thank you very much for being a speaker. Thank you. Welcome.
Okay. Can you all, I have a very loud voice, so I'm sure you can hear me. Do you know you can hear me in the back, so that's good. Everybody here? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your time. My name is Renzo, and tonight we will discuss leadership in the dawn of the useless class, a story by AI.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and esteemed colleagues, welcome to today's discussion on leadership in the dawn of the useless class, a story by AI. As we stand on the cusp of a new era defined by technological advancement and unprecedented societal shifts, the role of leadership has never been more critical. Today we'll dive in and find out if AI and leadership can coexist or if the robots do take over.
Okay, so as my little AI assistant explained and done the welcome, let's sit back, let's go on a journey and see if the robots actually do take over. Firstly, I want to create a bit of a picture for you. And I want you guys to interact, obviously, with me. Now, I don't know how many of you back in the day had one of these for the people online. It's a skateboard. Anybody? Any skateboarders? There we go. Okay, do you want to come do a kickflip? Come on. So, if you look at a skateboard, it is a piece of wood, some trucks, aluminium, some wheels. But if it's just there, it does what? Nothing, right? But if you add potentially me to the skateboard, then things could happen. Things could start. Cool, eh? Yes, that is me. Okay, so if you add me to the board, to this plank, then things happen. Now, for the tech people out there, imagine this skateboard is AI. Okay? AI on its own is just a piece of code, right? Like the skateboard on its own is just a board. We need to interact with the technology, as I need to interact with the skateboard to create something, to create entertainment, to create a culture. Okay? So, when we speak of the useless class, and we're speaking of this culture that we want for business and AI, I know the term sounds a bit off, but has anyone here heard of this terminology, the useless class? Mark, you've heard about it? Anybody else? Okay. So, for some context and some background, Professor Yuval Harari, in 2015, 2016, around there, coined the term the useless class by speaking of how quickly technology and how quickly AI is evolving and how it becomes a point where it replaces people, it replaces services, and essentially a lot of jobs, a lot of people, a lot of products and services become useless, correct? Now, what do we do from a leadership perspective to avoid these things? Because it's our job. And who here manages a team or a business or your own business? Hands? Okay, so this is the leadership, right? What do we do to avoid ourselves, our business, and our teams to become part of this useless class? We need to foster a culture of education, a culture of upskilling, a culture of reskilling. Now, in 2020, the World Economic Forum launched a project called the Revolution, the Reskilling Revolution, okay? Where they aim to reskill, not upskill, reskill 600 million people, because they fear that in the next 10 years, 1 billion people will be irrelevant within the marketplace, within business, within work. Okay? So it's our job from a leadership perspective to create and foster a culture of education, of upskilling, of reskilling. Then, as we are moving into the world where technology is part of our day-to-day lives. Now, if you think of 10 years back, we had cell phones and all these things, but if you think now, you have an Alexa at home, you have a Siri in your pocket, everything becomes more intimate. So what we call now, and the environment we're moving into is called the intimacy economy. So the intimacy economy is essentially where products, business, service, exchange currency or interact together. Okay? Now, think of your day-to-day life and think of how you interact with technology. It is very intimate, right? Because we are on our phones, we are on Teams calls, all these things, which means that we interact with technology so much more. So which means from a business perspective, from a leadership perspective, we need to start fostering a culture of inclusivity and start understanding that if we don't implement this technology and we don't embrace it and we don't understand the intimacy of it, we might have some issues. Now, the intimacy economy also speaks to trust, it speaks to credibility, which needs to run through our teams, needs to run through our business, needs to run through to our clients. Now, when we speak of AI and technology, Dinos just spoke about the sports book. In the world that we live in, what is the potential for AI and technology in business? Anybody here know the company called Rabbit? Any guesses? Not? Rabbit AI? Okay. Let's take a look.
This is what I got in the fridge. Rice dish that's low in calories.
Let me see. How about a green garden omelet? It's a delicious and low-calorie dish that combines the freshness of broccoli and cabbage with the creaminess of eggs. Here's a simple recipe for you.
Nice. It recognized all the stuff and gave me the actual recipes.
Okay, anybody familiar with this? Anybody seen this around? So now, we've just spoken about the intimacy economy. Now, you have an AI assistant that you point at your fridge and it gives you a recipe to create a meal. And where the technology is going, where we're moving from large language models for the tech people, what ChatGPT is, and what Rabbit AI term large action models. Okay, so the large language models where you prompt ChatGPT and it gives you a nice little piece of content or it writes you an answer to something. Large action models put action to certain things. So now you move into an environment where you prompt or you train the AI to do something on a user interface, on an application, for an example. and you walk down the road and you say, okay, find me a restaurant with gluten-free pasta. The AI will search, it'll find this restaurant, and then it will tell you, okay, Renzo, I found your restaurant, it's here. Should I book a table for you? So it takes action. Again, very involved in your day-to-day life. If we look at Apple for an example, it said that iOS 18, that's coming out later in September, Siri becomes way more involved in your day-to-day life. Think about this. We live on our phones. Anybody who doesn't have an Apple phone, sorry, get with the program. But on Apple, it has your data, right? Your search history, your movements, everything. So now if Siri has a large action model built in, she can give you recommendations based on what you do, based on your movements. They're also saying that potentially the earpods will have cameras in them. So now it's looking at your surroundings, looking at your movements. Imagine all the data that is there. Now, if we think of a leadership perspective in this, what should we be doing with all this technology? What should we be doing with all this information? Even though large action models or large language models and AI can read tons of data, we should never forget that we still manage it. Now, how do we implement this? If, for an example, let's speak of the gaming environment, we won't say gambling, and potentially I might know someone who has a sportsbook platform, Dinos. In future, this is the scenario that you will have. Zach, do you like football? You used to? Okay. Who's your favorite team? Okay. Who's your biggest rival? Argentina. Okay. Any other football fans here? Come on. There we go. So, in the future, what this could look like is you prompting or speaking to your assistant saying, okay, please find me the best odds for the Brazil-Argentina game on Saturday. Okay? The AI will do its thing, and it will tell you back, I have found on platform A an odd, but I have found on platform B the same odds with 100x odds boost. Do you want me to place a bet? And this is where in the gaming environment, the responsible gaming and compliance people go, whoa, okay, wait. This sounds dodgy. But this is the reality, okay? This is the reality where we are going to move towards. Again, back to leadership. What do we do with this technology? How do we go back to our teams and reskill them, upskill them, get them to understand how this technology works, make sure that we are ethical around it, and make sure we look at what the client and the end user is using within our technology. Now, even though it might sound like there is sunshine and rainbows around tech, and it's great that ChatGPT can write my thesis for me, and this large action model can go and book a flight ticket or do my betting for me. The reality is that the useless class is upon us, okay? And if you think about 1 billion people in the next couple of years losing your job, that could be one of us. So, as I need to go and take my little friend here and practice, figure out what to do and how to do it, it's not always fun and games. And sometimes bad things happen. And these bad things really hurt. Okay. From a leadership perspective, we need to make sure that we don't go down the route where we get hurt, where our businesses get hurt, where our teams get hurt. But also, this is the thing of leadership, that We are the resilient ones, right? We get up, we stand up, we dust ourselves off, and we start afresh. We go back to the drawing board, and we lead. Okay? And with that, what we need to do, from our good friend Albert Einstein, is also realize that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that we used when we created them. What does that mean? The technology from 2 years ago, the technology from 5 years ago is not the same. Your leadership style from last week, from 2 years ago, from 10 years ago, is also not the same. So what do we do going forward? We need to change our mindsets. We need to change the way we think. We need to foster a culture of inclusivity with technology, and also within our teams, within our business, within our products, understand where the world is going and reskill and upskill ourselves and our teams. And that is the only way that we will coexist with AI, because that is the future. The future is either we and our robotic friends give each other a hug, we build good products, we build good services, we build strong teams, strong culture, or the robots take over. And that's it for me. Thank you very much. Please keep the conversation going. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Any questions?
Thank you. Okay, now microphone is working and I can give it to you. Our online listeners can hear also.
Hi, Renzo.
Yes, sir.
Welcome, first of all.
Thank you for having me.
AI. You describe many things about. Is the artificial intelligence is used already in the level that we're thinking it should work, in your opinion? You gave some examples, but is it really developed yet, or is just something that will happen?
Well, there's two sides to it. Yes, the technology is at a point where it can be used. Let's look at some examples. I've just shown you the Rabbit AI assistant. Now, the large language model is a new thing. It just literally came out now in January. But if you look at ChatGPT and what OpenAI are doing, besides for the fact that you can prompt it and it can write an exam and it's much smarter than all of us, what they've launched now is called Sora. Okay? Now, some of the biggest TV and movie producers in Hollywood who are building multi-billion-dollar studios, the day that it launched, they stopped these projects because this AI essentially builds a whole movie. It creates a movie for you that is like real life. So instead of spending hundreds of millions or billions on studios and people, and now you have technology doing it. So that is the now. The future is, like I said, where we have this intimate relationship with our technology, where it becomes really part of our more day-to-day lives, where we don't just tell it things, it tells us things. It gives us recommendations because it has all our information. It has all our data. It knows our movements. So in a leadership context, it's now the most important time for us to understand that there's many things that can go well and there's many things that can go wrong. But the technology evolves so quickly, we can't manage it. We don't know what's going to happen next year, next week, etc. Does that answer your question?
I have a question too, to be honest. But question to the auditory. Please raise your hands who are using AI technologies on everyday basis. Who are? Oh, not bad. And who have never used? Okay, very interesting. Great. Okay, any more questions from you? Okay, 2 hands. Give me a second.
Coming to the useless class, one of the things which I'm noticing is that, in fact, once people are using AI, it's actually the people who are the poorest performers get the greatest improvement in performance.
So it's a very valid point, and if you look at the environment and you think of, there's a difference between, I mean, you from the educational background, there's a difference between educating yourself, upskilling yourself, and reskilling yourself. So if you look at teams where we have potential low performers and they use this technology to do better, isn't that upskilling or is that reskilling? Because I know that if I am a content writer, for an example, for a blog or whatever, what I can do in an hour, ChatGPT can do in 40 seconds. So should I not learn that technology? Should I not understand how to prompt it, how to be more relevant, how to write and give me information and context, and take that and put my own spin on it to save my job? So this comes back to your perception. How do you see it? And people who manage teams need to figure out, is it relevant to have Renzo there and him using ChatGPT or AI technology, or should I replace him and just have a robot do the work? And one thing we shouldn't forget is, again, the data. The AI reads so much data, but there's no personal touch. And in anything we do, we need to have a personal touch, because then it just becomes robotic. Any other questions? Yes. Sorry. Yes, sir.
AI work on data sets.
Mm.
Now in the online entertainment, what we're calling iGaming today, we need data sets. Do you believe that the organizations, the industry is ready to share data sets with others?
Do you think they don't already share data sets?
Some they are, some are not.
Okay, so this is the ethical question, right? Now, if you have been following the news recently, wasn't the CEO of OpenAI fired because of Chinese data that he was using? The reality is that data rules the world. We are pieces of data that walk around, which people monetize. And whether we like it or not, your data gets shared. You click and accept terms and conditions that you never read. You click, okay, cool, here's my password change. All that data goes back. So that's exactly what these large models do. So they read that data. You can just do it much quicker than we can. So data sharing, whether it's in the gaming, in banking, in whatever it is, it's a reality. We have GDPR and all these nice little things, but let's be realistic. Data is everywhere. People will find a way to manipulate the system to find the data. It's not a good thing necessarily, but it's the reality, in my opinion. Answer your question?
Thank you. Next one.
I know I'm a little out of stand here, but I can't see.
So, I'm a marketing manager, and I know for sure, well, I know that the copywriters of my team, they use ChatGPT in everything. But I can easily read a text, and I know for sure that is ChatGPT. And what I feel that it happens, I do, for example, the strategy of the company. I'm working in an iGaming industry. I do it without any ChatGPT. When it comes to improve my English, I'm Spanish, I use it, and so on. But when it comes to being creative, being a strategist, all these type of thoughts that requires an understanding and not only analyzing the data and understand the market, but when it comes to being creative, being original, sending this right message, I don't feel like AI is not doing it. It only has repetitive thoughts all the time. Although it's very important that you have a good prompt for that, but still the reasoning is always the same. It doesn't give you this extra thing that you say, wow, that's very creative, that's very smart. No, it's very average, simple. But of course, for very basic roles, not basic, but maybe more robotic roles, for example, data analysis. If you do data analysis, it's gonna be A, B, and C, and that's it. Then is when AI is so fast and it takes you 30 seconds well, it's gonna take me a whole day to do this data analysis. But when it comes to the creative side, I think, I don't know. What do you think?
Okay,
Sorry.
so in terms of the creative side, and I have managed many marketing teams. It's actually been pretty much part of my career. And recently had many debates and discussions around this. Now, yes, if you go prompt ChatGPT for something, it is a bit mundane, but a good content writer can go good or put a good spin on it. On the other side, you have functionalities and plugins now into ChatGPT where you can upload your brand's tone of voice, your look and feel of your design. All these nice little more personal touches, your narrative, all these things into the AI, and what it gives you is a totally different story. Now, back to what I said earlier, that personal touch, the human touch, me with the skateboard, that's a partnership. Same scenario. When we get to a point where the AI has been learned so much that it can replace the person who is creative, where it can replace the person that has got good humor and speaks in context in their copy, for an example. That is a reality because it is coming. The difference is someone still needs to go prompt that AI, okay? So instead of a team of 10 content writers, you might have one person who really knows how to work with the technology. And it will give you better quality in future. At the moment, I agree, it's not great. And we've all seen LinkedIn posts just came copied directly off ChatGPT, and we've all seen ads and these things. But the reality is where we're moving towards is that person managing the content needs to understand and needs to know how to interact with it to get good quality at the back end. Make sense?
Give me a second, because we have online listeners, and I'd like they can have an opportunity to listen to your questions too. Give me a second.
How can I learn that?
Say again?
How can I learn that?
How can you learn that? Google. So, at the moment, if you go and you have ChatGPT and you have Discord and all these things, they plug together and you can go prompt, okay? With the new plugins, you can go and upload your tone of voice, your all these things. What it gives you is not 100% consistent, to be honest. But that's where your skill set comes in. So the more you work with something, the more you practice on it, the more you keep up to date on new updates and what is out there, the better the output will be. So this is learning yourself. This is teaching yourself. You're the marketing manager. You need to understand how these things work so that you can train your team to understand it as well. Because if you understand it, then it's much easier to operate with it, to think with it, to strategize with it. Instead of fighting against it, we need to understand it a bit more and try and find a bit more synergy between us and the technology. Okay.
Okay, next one.
Sorry. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I don't work with AI daily, but I know people who do. And one thing that I hear from them a lot is that when they're using, for example, ChatGPT, you have to sense check what you get back because it has a tendency to what they call dream. It makes stuff up, right, that isn't actually true. And it can be quite creative. So you need a human filter to basically go through what's coming back from the AI, from the data set, to make sure it's actually correct. In the world that you're presenting here, there's no filter. This is happening in real time, right? So you're getting real-time feedback from the AI directly to you. How can you trust that what you're getting back is actually correct data?
When you go on your phone and you Google something, how does that work? Do you trust the first thing that pops up?
No.
Okay, same scenario. So you go Google the Google, right?
But if you're asking for the recommendation for a restaurant and it says, yeah, there's a great restaurant over there, and then you get, great, book me a table, and you go, then the restaurant doesn't exist, or it used to exist, or it might exist.
Now, let me create the picture for you how they say the large action model now that has a bit more interaction works. You train it like you would prompt a chat GPT. You take a website, let's say booking.com, and you teach or train that AI that you are a family of 4. You like to travel here. This is what you like in terms of your rooms, and etc. So you give it your preferences for now. I teach the AI that I like pasta or pizza or pastizzi, whatever it is. Okay? And now enter clever marketeers. Like we have SEO and ads. When you Google something, the first thing pops up is probably an ad or something that's good SEO. That is what it will give you. If you have that model in your website or your application, you will probably pay for this AI to recognize it first, to give you that recommendation. So the recommendation might not be 100% accurate, but it might be someone who paid to have it come to you first. It's a new avenue of marketing. It's a new avenue of advertising. It's not there yet, but if you think of the logic of how Google works and all these things, it's exactly the same. So trusting it, do you trust Google all the time? If you Google an illness or something, it's the best SEO that wins. It's not the facts. So you can't. And again, having a person who is skilled enough to manage the tool, which is the AI, that's important. But just trusting what it spits out, that's where the danger starts.
Okay, I see we have more questions here. It's great, but if you're watching us online, feel free to ask your question too. We'll read them, okay? I know that there are a lot of listeners. And next question offline is.
Hello, you gave us a good idea with reskilling people to keep them busy. How do you think, is it enough, or there could be some other approaches to keep people busy? There cannot be rescaling. For example, you already gave us example with actors, like so it's generative AI models, like already AI replacing people, like models, patient models, I mean, actors or TV speakers and so on. How can we, what could be with these people we approach? And maybe, just my thought, maybe it could be some government regulation and so on. Other ideas, please.
I think if we look back at history and you look at the Industrial Revolution, for an example, no one could prepare for that. But what did we do? What do humans do? We adapt, right? So the smart people out there in their research and who are doing the thinking around what the world could potentially look like, and the people who speak of this useless class and upskilling and reskilling, the reality is that people will lose their jobs. People will become the useless class. But what do we do as people? What do we do as leaders in business, as entrepreneurs, as thought, we reinvent things, right? So we go and we adapt. Some people might lose their jobs now, but there might be other opportunities that are created. There might be new businesses, new industries that are created to accommodate for those people. We don't know. If you go do your homework around this, for the next 10 years, no one really knows what's going to happen. No one really knows what the world's going to look like and what the job market or business is going to look like, because the AI and the technology is just evolving so quickly. So again, that's why people who are in leadership positions and entrepreneurs and the Elon Musks and all these guys of the world need to think ahead. And how do we accommodate for this? And how do we look after ourselves, our business, our teams, and our clients so that we can all coexist together? So I think there will be many new industries, there will be many new titles, and we don't know. So that's my opinion. I can't give you a clear answer because I don't know. Make sense?
Okay, next question.
I really like previous question because it is business question, not technical, and we are on the Malta business talk. Did I get your idea that you, as a leader, want to help useless people? I believe that if I want to be a good leader, I want to find people who are not useless and who can use new technologies and new things around them. I believe that leader is not a human who helps useless people. I believe that the real leader is a people who helps strong and useful people become more strong and more successful.
Okay. Don't you think leadership should also accommodate for the people who aren't all as strong? Show me one team where everybody is on the same level. Everybody. Everybody gives 100%, everybody's knowledge is good, everybody's output and input's good. Doesn't exist. So, I'm not saying that from a leadership perspective we should help the useless people. I'm saying we should take the time to rethink how we go about our business, how we build our teams, how we build our products and our services, and look at the individuals who need to perform these duties or perform them currently, and upskill and reskill them. People can teach themselves things. I'm not saying that everybody who is useless is going to stay useless, but I'm also not saying that everybody who's useless is going to continue. Some people will fall off the bandwagon because that's what happens. But from a leadership perspective, we can't just go and say, okay, I have a team of people, but now I have AI who can do the job of 10 people, goodbye, I'm making you redundant, and I plug in the AI. I'm saying go and look at the 10 people. Understand the technology, understand the skill sets of the people, upskill these and reskill these who cannot function with it. And if they don't make it, they don't make it. But you've at least taken steps to support your people, to support your team members, even if they aren't good enough to be reskilled, you've at least tried. We can't save everybody. We can't keep everybody happy. But at least we need to try. We need to try and figure out how we can coexist. I'm glad I'm not in your team, by the way.
Why do you believe that you need to try to make people better? Why don't they need to do themselves better?
Of course they will. But leadership needs to take the lead. Leadership needs to go and show them that we can upskill you. Yes, people need to be proactive, but we need to support them. We are their support structure, right? That's why we called managers and leaders. So it is a two-way street for sure. But it's our job to make sure that we empower and create an environment for our teams to thrive. If that means we need to reskill and upskill them, if that means I need to fire you because you're not great, then it is what it is. But I need to do what I need to do to make sure that there is a culture of innovation and a culture of inclusivity in my teams. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
Renzo,
Yes, sir.
I'm curious, how are you using AI to make your life more effortless?
I just built this presentation with AI. What are you talking about? Didn't you hear my great voice at the beginning?
And I didn't come, I was in the loo in the beginning. So for your personal life and for business, how is it making your life more effortless?
I think in my personal life, I don't really use AI. I do have an Alexa, and whoever has an Alexa, go and whisper something to her. It's very cute, her response. That I do, so that she can play me a nice song when I go to bed. From a business perspective, like the gentleman said, is how do we figure out things and how do we get data and information? If you go Google something, or if you go type it into ChatGPT and you go compare, you can educate yourself. You can learn a lot from AI. You can learn a lot from technology if you find it in the right places. On the other hand, I've had teams of marketeers who have to pump out tons of content, tons of ads with very limited resources. So what do? We figure out how the AI works. Build a whole campaign with ChatGPT, copy, design, everything. Yes, we put a bit of a touch to it. No one ever knew because we did it right. So if you do it right, I'm not saying I'm only doing it right, but there's many companies that do it right. Think of the amount of time that you save, not just for yourself, for your business, and for your teams, in doing something with a bit of automation. A design could take 4 hours. I prompt ChatGPT, and 2 minutes later I have a design, boom, done. So there is valuable insights for it. There is value to it. But also there's obviously negativity to it, where I had a team of 10 designers, now I only need 3. Answer your question?
You've mentioned a lot of times about the reskilling of people who might not fit in the status quo anymore once we have more progress, like models of AI. My question is, what do you reskill them to in a business environment where everything that the AI can do will be better possibly in the future?
Okay, but again, even if I have the latest skateboard, the best wheels, the best trucks, it's there. Without me, it can't function, right? So even if you have AI and technology, which is great, okay, what's it going to do? You have to have someone to give it an instruction. You have to have someone to plug it into a process flow, or to give it to add it to a platform to bring output. Now, again, yes, if you have a team of 10 people, it takes one guy to do that. But now we need to think of what's next in the process, what's next in the product, what's next in the production line. Where can I take someone else and put them there? Create new process, create new product.
But every single process step you just mentioned could have been potentially done with like a information infrastructure in a company.
It can, for
that
sure.
The AI could analyze faster than any human in the act, and therefore just cancel out the human out of the equation.
So
it only needs a decision maker then.
It needs a decision maker, yes. But the reality is we will have companies that do that. But part of what the core of the intimacy economy is that authenticity. It is the ethics around it. It is having that personal touch. And if your people can't be part of that process, then it is what it is. But it's still a leader, it's still a business person or a team leader's decision on whether I want to go the route of just automating and kicking everybody out, or let's try and find a new process to upskill, to reskill, to replace people. Not replace them, put them in other roles. But yes, it can be automated. That's the reality of it.
Okay, we have some questions online. Let me read them, okay? How do you think AI can change recruiters and HR managers in the future? Sorry, can I answer?
Go for it.
Definitely yes.
Okay, how?
I believe AI will change everybody's life, as you mentioned, and I fully agree with you. But it doesn't mean that some professions will disappear. For example, HR manager, because I'm a HR director, I know a little bit about that. HR manager will use AI on everyday basis. But it doesn't mean that HR manager as a profession will disappear. No, just changed.
Do you think AI could potentially make your job a bit more difficult? Let me give you a scenario.
No.
Recently, and you can go find the video and I'll share it with you on email, where a very clever young lad created an avatar of himself, and he had an interview with a company, and this avatar, this AI, did the whole interview.
Definitely yes, and I can tell you a little bit more. I already know examples when AI from recruiter's side is talking with AI from candidate's side. Yes, it's possible, why not? Well, to be honest, it's very important to control it, definitely, because we all know that, first of all, there are different AI systems, not only ChatGPT.
Of course not.
Yes, and some of them are safe for the company, some of them are not. And we all know that if we download personal information or commercial secrets, ChatGPT will save all this information. We need to keep it in mind and
So
remember
again,
about that.
this comes back to the leadership aspect of things. We, me, you, everybody here has a role to play in this, where we need to still manage this AI. We need to manage the technology and make sure that we protect ourselves, our business, our teams, and obviously our consumers before the data gets shared, for an example.
Exactly. Next question is, how far would AI be able to drive creativity? Or would creativity always be a big part of humanity?
I think AI can understand so much data that the creative aspect, let's talk about design for an example. If you have someone who's an artist who paints, there's an artistic flair to it. AI can probably reproduce that. But now, what are you going to do with that piece of art or that piece of design? A person needs to consume it. So again, where's the personal touch? Is it relevant for the audience? Creativity will always be there, but we can be a bit more creative than AI potentially. Or AI can be more creative than us. It depends in context what you're trying to do. And again, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. Again, at the moment, we've got technology that can create great things, but also we have people who can create greater things.
Okay, next one. Can you please read? I will read for everybody. This is not really a business-oriented question, more a moral one. Are the laws being adjusted currently to ensure that something like Neuralink is not used by governments for nefarious purposes? Nefarious, sorry.
Are the laws being adjusted? I wouldn't know. If we take the example of OpenAI, and the reason why the CEO was fired is exactly that, because the data set that he used came from China, it was illegally acquired, etc. So again, we need to, and leadership from a government perspective, I suppose, would have to put things in place and checks and balances in place to protect us as consumers. Whether they do it, we don't know. And we'll have to find out, to be honest.
Okay, next one. Creativity is a huge focus in hospitality. So they now learn how AI would drive hospitality. We see, or would it be centered around humans? The only one can look at a GV between the two.
Okay. So in the hospitality environment, let's say for an example, you have an event like this, or a bar, or somewhere, you can have the technology speaking to different people and different machines at the same time. So let's say you have a barman whose ice is finished. There could be a technology that prompts someone to go fetch the ice. People go to places in hospitality for an experience, right? So let's say, for an example, you have an app, and the person sits down, and on his phone pops up, say, hey, we have a special order here. Boom. The kitchen knows, and here's your meal. Or an introduction to their waiter or waitress or chef or whatever it is. So yes, there is technology that can interact in that way. Again, it depends on how we build it and how we implement it.
Great. Okay. I see one hand. Okay, I'm going.
I suppose that the answer to my question will be we don't know, but I just want to ask your own opinion, personal one, regarding the question that do you believe that sometime, someday we will reach technological singularity and this skateboard will produce operator of the skateboard, which will produce a new version of skateboard, and so on and so forth?
It's possible. If you ask someone 10 or 50 or 20 years ago what the future would look like with flying cars and all these things, we don't know. So my personal opinion, yes, it is possible. Will it happen? I don't know.
Okay, thank you very much. I know that we have more questions, but unfortunately time is limited. Well, rather, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have a third speaker. The question is, do we need a break? I think yes. Okay, 10 minutes break, and I'm waiting you here at 8:30, okay? In 10 minutes. See you. Well, first of all, guys, you are my heroes. You are here with us. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. It looks like we spent a lot of time, but anyway, it was really great experience, and I'm very happy to introduce you our third speaker, Philip. Welcome, Philip.
Hello. Good evening. Pleasure and honor to be here to speak to you this evening. I've got the graveyard slot, so try and keep you all entertained. I'm going to pose two questions. I'm going to talk about education technology, and the two questions which I want you to bear in mind as I'm talking. The first one is, given the audience, why is education technology relevant to iGaming? And then the second one, a bit more downbeat, why is education technology so difficult to make a success of? That's not supposed to happen. There we go. All right, okay. So, I was just testing. When I said education technology is difficult to make a success of, you can see the numbers here. Now, no matter whether we believe venture capitalists or not, and the numbers which they issue, the reality is that on average, education technology is about half as successful as the rest of a venture capitalist's portfolio. And the result of that is that right now, education is taking less than 1% of the total technology investment budget. And that's at a time when, as we've just heard from the previous speaker, artificial intelligence should be totally revolutionizing the sector. But there's so little money going in. So that brings home the premise I'm making that actually education technology is a very difficult thing to do, far more difficult than iGaming. Right, okay. A little bit of background about myself. I trained as an economist, a chartered accountant, then did an MBA. That gave me the skill set to go right the way across the C-suite. So I've been a chief marketing officer, a chief operations officer, a chief financial officer, chief executive officer. And I've also done that in a number of different industries. I've been involved in culture, aviation. Actually, for my sins, I brought Ryanair to Malta. I've been involved in mobile telephony, and currently I'm advising the Corsair Group, and the Corsair Group are the people who are the first company to have achieved the industrialization of recycling waste plastic. And this is recycling the waste plastic, which is the difficult stuff to do, not the recycled plastic bottles, which are mechanically recycled, but the 90% of plastic which can't be done like that. But throughout my career, I've always been involved in education, whether dedicated to education or doing it as a sideline. And that's included being a teacher, an examiner, an assessor, policy advisor. So I do have a very deep education background. Now, when I did my MBA, the British computer company ICL took the crazy decision to appoint me as the general manager of 2 of their factories. And over here on the left is a picture of one of their Series 39 VME mainframes, which was the top of the range product back in the late 80s when I was making these things. Now, that stands about as tall as I do, and it lives in its own little air-conditioned unit. I'm glad to say I don't need an air-conditioned unit of my own to do to work, but I'm feeling something blowing on me. When we shipped those things, we shipped user manuals with it. And the user manuals were bigger than the mainframe. They were physically bigger than the mainframe. Now, somewhere in my pocket here, I've got this. This is a pretty old Samsung phone. It was not top of the range when I bought it, but it is something like 20 to 100 times more powerful than that mainframe. So presumably I got 20 to 100 times more manuals with it. Now, you know that's nonsense. Absolutely. And the reason? There has been a little heralded but complete revolution in cognitive design. That back in the 1980s, it was inconceivable that you wouldn't send a huge heap of manuals to people how to work a computer. But now, we understand the psychology of user interfaces. We understand how to design things so they're intuitive. And that has made your industry possible, the iGaming industry, because you don't send manuals out to folk who are playing Poker Stars. We certainly don't send manuals out for these things. And when I had moved on from being a manufacturing general manager to being head of ICL's services business development, and was becoming fascinated about computer-based training and being very convinced that this was going to be the future of education, I did a lot of reading around the subject. And I'll never forget one particular textbook which said that when you design your screen, never make more than 9 interactions. That human beings were incapable of interacting with screens with more than 9 interactions. 9 interactions on this touch screen? I mean, I don't know how many thousand interactions are possible. But that revolution made both education technology and iGaming possible. That is a Ford Edsel, the biggest heap of junk that anybody has ever built. It was known as unsafe at any speed. Now, by the 1990s, Ford had sorted out a lot of those sorts of problems, but they were still losing market share dramatically. And the reason was that the Japanese were building not better cars, but more reliable cars. That cars didn't break down, that cars were well built. And Ford realized that their manufacturing process was out of control. They needed to train 52,000 workers in Europe in statistical process control so that they could run the processes of building and assembling cars in control in the way the Japanese did, so they could get the quality assurance up to the requisite level. Now, that's a bit of a problem. How are you going to take 52,000 people off the production line? How are you going to find enough classrooms for them? For that matter, there aren't enough statistics teachers in Europe to teach this lot. So, force majeure, it had to be done by education technology. And by that time, I moved on to a little company called Future Media, and we won that contract. And the way we did it was really Heath Robinson. We used a 286 processor PC linked to a Philips Laserdisc. And that created an interface which had full motion video and full interaction and questions and tests and everything. And we were so successful with this that we actually floated on the NASDAQ in 1994. So It is possible to be successful in education technology. Now, EdTech, as it says, is education plus technology. So some of the companies which don't succeed in this space are educationalists without the technology, or the technologists without the education, or maybe the educationalists and the technologists don't talk to each other. And of course, you've got to remember, the most important people of all are the people with the ability to develop the interactive design, the look and feel, the interaction, because if you don't get that right, people are not going to learn. So you have these strange, precious beasts, who I presume we have some interactive designers sitting in this room, given what you do, right, who are also part of the mix in these companies. Oh, and by the way, we've got to run these businesses successfully. So we have all these folks who have to coexist in very stressful circumstances as startups. And that is another reason why edtechs very often don't succeed, because you have to bring different skill sets but also very different temperaments together into the operation. So that's one reason why education technology was a disappointing story for 30 years, from the time when Future Media were the first were pioneers in this way, through to the 2020s. Technology improved dramatically. We had CD-ROMs, then we had the internet, then we had full screen, full motion video coming over the internet. And things were happening. You remember these things? MOOCs. Massive online open courses. Pretty well any university which fancied itself thought, great idea, we will create online courses and we'll give them away. There was an open source platform which was the standard for the industry for managing technology-led education, doing the student recruitment, the student administration, the student admissions, the student records, called Moodle. That's still going strong. It's an open platform. The problem with this, which was the story of the 2010s, the price point was free. It's a bit tricky making a profit when you're giving your product away. Oops. Another problem. Here are the 10 best universities in the world according to QS. Right. One on that list is not 100 years old. The National University of Singapore, founded in 1980. All the others are well over 100 years old. If I extended that list to the top 100, 3 would be less than 100 years old. Right. Oxford and Cambridge, well, we're 800 years old. I mean, you go there on holiday to go and look at the magnificent medieval and Gothic buildings. Now, this is a globally important industry. And is there any other industry where 97% of the businesses are over 100 years old? Maybe the oil industry is getting that way. But the whole education industry settles on tradition. Every metric is backward looking. Right. Reputation drives funding, it drives recruitment of students. I mean, I went to INSEAD, that was my business school. All right, I was very fortunate to go there, but I went to one of the 2 top business schools in the world. Right, if it weren't one of the 2 top business schools in the world and I had the scores I had, I'd have gone somewhere else. Everything about education backward looking. What papers have the professors written? What are the students saying about it? What are the salaries getting? What are their alumni doing? Everything's looking backwards. And even the whole area of professor citations, their research, that's under huge attack, because large language models are meaning that the research is more read than it has ever been in the past, but they're not getting paid for it because it's all open. So this is not great for driving innovation in learning. Whoops. Where's it gone? Going the wrong way. Now, that, friends, is Gemini's version of a nuclear bomb. Right, it's a bit crazy, it's a bit psychedelic, but there's a nuclear explosion has gone on. Something's happened in the industry. That's what happened with COVID. Suddenly, no longer could do person-to-person teaching, you couldn't do classroom teaching. Everything shut down. I mean, some of you, I'm sure, looking around the room, were at university or at school at that time. You know you had to go home. And institutions had to react. The way they did initially was simply put up video cameras in classrooms and got the professors to talk to empty desks and beam it out to the students. But very quickly, people realized that's a very bad way of disseminating learning, and so phenomenal education technology development happened. Literally, there were decades of development going on in a matter of weeks as institutions reacted to the fact that they were shut down by COVID. And the edtech industry were having people throwing money at them. You know, that ×8 for edtech funding is the lowest number I could find. So almost certainly at least 8 times as much money got poured into the edtech industry. So edtech's on the way. Oh, no, it's not. We have another bomb. Yep. This one's called ChatGPT 3.5. Now, very interesting post by Ethan Mollick, professor at Wharton, on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, this morning. And he reflects that in 2021, somebody wrote the history of artificial intelligence. I've forgotten who it was. And there is a history to artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is not new. The Turing test is 74 years old this year. And the Turing test, remember, that is the test to determine whether a machine is intelligent. And very simple. You have a human being, you have a machine, and you have another human being. And the human being is typing questions and doesn't know whether the human being or the machine's answering. And if they can tell, or they can't tell, which one's the machine, which one's the human, then you've got artificial intelligence. That's the Turing test, 74 years old. In 2021, they created a list of the things which are too difficult for artificial intelligence to do. Right, in 2021, it was too difficult for artificial intelligence to tell a story. It was too difficult to analyze a picture. It was too difficult to have natural language interface. It was, in other words, everything which we're now taking for granted, 2021, we thought it was going to be impossible. It was decades away, but it's here now. So when I got ChatGPT 3.5, I was astonished, absolutely astonished, and my immediate reaction is, what's this going to do to education? So, one of my very early prompts was this one. You know, I've copied it. Please make me a course to train me as a brain surgeon. And what came back? The learning objectives, the learning design, the treatment, what aptitude, skills, and knowledge I would acquire, how it's broken down into modules, how those modules broken down into units, where the practicals were going to be, what the assessment was going to be. It was all there. And there was this lovely little payoff from ChatGPT 3.5. Join us! Join us on a transformative journey into the fascinating field of neurosurgery, where you will acquire the skills and expertise to make a meaningful difference in the lives of patients with neurological disorders. Right. So I'm a brain surgeon, folks. Any volunteers? No? Nobody? Don't worry. So, that, and this, remember, we weren't calling these things prompts in those days. We didn't know about hallucinations, apart from when you drunk too much. So, an extraordinary thing happened when this came out. There was actually a bloodbath. Never mind my brain surgery. There was a bloodbath of existing edtech companies. Because remember, all that money has poured in, a lot of it, just simply because somebody turns up saying, hey, I'm an edtech, oh, here, have some money, during COVID. And they'd all got to the point where they developed their little apps, and suddenly you had all these giants with their large language models doing what these edtech apps were designed to do, only better, and very often they were simply features, and they went out there for free. So again, the edtech industry was hit for six. Sorry about the quality of this. This is a screen grab from a screen by Professor Scott Galloway and Session. But there is a typical consultant's 2x2 matrix here. On here, it's the level of digitization. That's what you can't see. And interestingly, on the x-axis, it's the density of language inside your value proposition. Right? So how much are you communicating by natural language with your users and customers? And things like house painting are both very non-digital, and they don't have much in the way of language. But up here, oh my, we've got the gaming industry. You're going to be disrupted. Or you're disrupting yourselves. By the sound of things, you're disrupting yourselves. But also, education. Education is singled out as one of the industries where artificial intelligence is an immediate threat. Now, we can turn that around. Remember that threats are the other side of opportunities. But it's perceived as a threat. So where is artificial intelligence going to impact on education? The most obvious one is that it's going to result in far more personalization of education. That you can use these machines and this software with natural language to deliver a personal learning experience. So picking up on the previous speaker, right, education using AI edtech is going to sort out what he calls the useless class, because everybody learns in their own way at their own speed, and we're going to get into a world of personalization. The feedback to the teachers is going to be hugely more informed, and it's going to be presented in a way that teachers can action it. It's always on. So if you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you can go for your AI class. Assessment and marking, this is coming. Right, at the moment, I wouldn't trust it at all, but it will happen that AI will be doing that. And above all, we're going to get equality of access. That anyone, whether you're at school as a little kid or you are my age and you're learning, lifelong learning becomes completely possible across all ability, geography and ages, and something which I think is really important to think about. I think learners will have the same privileges as gamers. Your gaming people, the people who are using your games, do they go to classrooms to use the games? Are they requiring you to force feed them the game as a teacher does in lessons? It's a deeply personal, engaged experience. Sorry? Oh, say over here, sorry. I'm moving around too much. It's a deeply personal experience for the gamers, and that's what we're going to see for learners in the future. Now, this I think is very exciting, because just as the gaming industry has taken root here in Malta, with thousands of employees, and very, very high paid and very expert employees at that, I believe we have the opportunity to do this in Malta too. And one of the reasons, I know there are 3 slides here on this, and then I'll be wrapping up. We have developed a regulatory and accreditation regime in Malta which is uniquely advantageous. Because we're small, many institutions don't have the resources to develop and accredit their own courses. So the Malta Further and Higher Education Authority will do that job for you, which means that if you're a small institution, you have your own intellectual property, i.e. your course is approved by the authority, and it's your course and you can sell it as your course. You don't have to go to another education institution to badge your course for you. That's incredibly important. We were the first country to recognize online degrees within the European higher education area. We were the first country to make vocational and academic qualifications level. So you can do vocational at level 4 and go straight on to a degree course at level 5 at University of Malta. And this last one's also incredibly important. And ECTS is a European credit transfer. This is how awards in Malta are recognized across all the other 47 countries in the European higher education area and vice versa. And most countries package up those courses. So you can't go out and design a course which is less than, say, a degree or a diploma or a certificate. But in Malta, you can do a single ECTS and they will accredit it. That means that micro courses, which is very much the way that people are going, can be accredited here in Malta. So we have a regulatory and accreditation advantage, which was something which I'm proud to say I was part of putting in place. Now, great, we have an iGaming sector in Malta, and the point I was making earlier, that there are intuitive designers, there are people who understand the whole psychology of interfacing with machines. So there are people in the iGaming industry who are ideally talented to become part of the edtech industry. But also, what artificial intelligence is going to do is going to deliver gamification of learning. Anyone using Duolingo? Anyone learning languages using Duolingo? Right, yes, the lady here. So it's got a game. You're scoring points. Right, that's gamification of learning. So we've got a gaming industry, for goodness sake. Yeah, I'm standing on my point. The gentleman's watching the screen and seeing me going off it. Right, so we've got a game. We can use the gaming knowledge we have in the iGaming industry for education. Ditto simulation, creating lifelike simulations. Now, obviously, esports is simulation. So the enormous esports capability here in Malta, those sort of simulations will also be used incredibly intensively in education. And the great thing about AI, you can create these simulations in a tiny fraction of the time, which used to be the case. And it's not just coexisting with iGaming and having that regulatory framework, but we also have a number of world-class operations here in Malta. There is Supercharged Ventures come over from Singapore. They are an accelerator. They have already put 14 sensational education technology businesses through their accelerator program. They're aiming to do 150 more in the next 3 years. So these companies are coming from all over the world to be in Malta. And of those 14, 8 of them have chosen to domicile themselves in Malta for business on the business registry, and 6 of them are taking advantage of our regulatory regime to get themselves registered with the Malta Further and Higher Education Authority. So there's no obligation that they have to become Maltese resident, but they are becoming Maltese domiciled because of the advantage. So, and if we get another 150 of these scale-ups, that's really going to put Malta on the map. And one of the companies which Supercharger worked on was a business called Axon Park, a classic virtual company, 9 people all over the world. And Taylor Freeman, an American, decided to come to Malta, set up business, and he's established himself. They've just raised 5 million funding. They're doing the most amazing augmented reality and virtual reality. So there are companies doing this. Another company which I'm involved with, Advenio, the Advenio E-Academy, did nothing but online learning and training. So, a personal plea. What are we, people like me, as educators going to do in this brave new world? And the first thing I think we have to do when we're teaching people is to teach them to love and cherish words and numbers. You need to understand how words matter. If for no other reason that the one boom area of employment coming out of artificial intelligence is prompting. How do you write a prompt for these large language models to give you what you want in the most efficient way they can? So that is all about use of language. So use of language is absolutely essential in the world which we're going into, and equally numbers. You've got to know the difference between a million, a billion, and a trillion. You've got to have a sense of these numbers, because otherwise these artificial intelligence engines are going to absolutely fool you all the time. So you've got to have a sense of numeracy. This might sound a bit twee, but cherish your humanity. Understand what it is to be human. And increasingly, given the speed which these artificial intelligence engines are developing, and how they can fool you into thinking that they're human, understand the human AI boundaries. How we are going to interact with these artificial intelligence and make them our friend, and the people work, and the machines working for us, not working against us. And that comes out of cherishing our humanity. Part of this is building our critical faculties. Really questioning, know how to question as human beings. Right? That is going to be so much more important when the AI is doing the legwork, which we always used to do in terms of going online and Googling and trying to find something. That's all done for you. But you need to have the critical faculties to understand Is this hallucinating? Is this telling me it's the truth? Have I asked the question in such a way that I'm getting my own answer back and not getting the real answer? On a more global basis, still today, many people in the developing world learn by rote. And they learn by rote. In other words, they memorize. And they memorize because there aren't enough teachers, there's too many kids, because that's the way they've always learnt. But that is killing the ability to think critically. So using artificial intelligence to challenge and to get people thinking is part of this. And another area, being very specific about Africa. People ask me, well, why are we using artificial intelligence in education? Don't we losing the human being touch, the human touch? You know, teachers are going to be superfluous. In Africa, if everybody who is qualified to go and do a bachelor's degree could go and do a bachelor's degree, they only have a fifth of the number of PhDs to teach them. The situation, it's not an either or. Basically in Africa, if you're going to get a degree education, you're going to have to use artificial intelligence. If all those youngsters, and bear in mind that Africa is the only country where you have a demographic bulge in the young population, if all of those are going to get the education they need and deserve, you are going to have artificial intelligence working alongside the teachers. Personalization, I've spoken about previously, but your teacher, I think, increasingly becomes a coach and mentor as much as somebody who imparts knowledge, because the imparting of knowledge will be done by the artificial intelligence. The teacher will coach you in the use of that knowledge and information. And this last one is really the only original thought I've got. But I want you to think about this. We all complain of two things. One, our attention spans are shortening. Right? We can't keep our attention to the extent that we used to. And the other is that we are bombarded by stuff on these. And the two are linked. And quite extraordinary, TikTok are now pumping out 2 minute soap operas. Those are all the rage in China, and they're becoming very popular in the United States. 2 minute soap operas, complete soap operas. Now, is there here an opportunity for us not to say, oh my God, this is terrible, young people today, etc., etc. Is there an opportunity to say, you know, wait a minute, if they can do a 2 minute soap opera, can we do a 2 minute teach you differential calculus? I mean, the concept's not that difficult. You can design. I mean, I designed my master's degrees, 3 of them which I've written, to be delivered in 15-minute chunks. I've come to the conclusion 15 minutes is too long. Maybe I should be aiming for 5 minutes or 2 minutes chunks. And if we can do really punchy training and learning in 2 minute chunks, we're overcoming the problem of attention deficit, but we're also massively increasing the ability of people to learn so much more, because the amount of knowledge is exploding exponentially. Let me give you a stunning statistic, or it was stunning to me. 90% of all the human beings in history who graduated with a bachelor's degree in science are alive today. Right. Now, I posed the question at the beginning, links between EdTech and iGaming, and why is EdTech so difficult? I don't know whether I've answered those questions for you, but at least I hope I've done something to stimulate your thoughts along those lines. So thank you all very much.
Thanks a lot. I really love this topic. Okay, any more questions? Do we have any? If you're watching us online, feel free to write your questions. I know that we already a little bit discussed AI, that's why maybe we ask a lot of questions. Yes, it's complicated. Okay, any more questions from? Yes, please.
Sorry, Zach.
I'm curious, since you're so into education, how are you self-educating yourself through AI? Like, what are you doing yourself? What's your conversation with ChatGPT to learn and self-grow?
Okay, look, it's trial and error. I mean, I did these slides using Google Gemini on an Apple Mac, which then got converted into Microsoft PowerPoint. The initial result was a disaster. I think you just need to use it. And also not be afraid to use different, not just ChatGPT, but Gemini. I think for education purposes, Gemini is particularly powerful. We're unfortunate in Europe because of GDPR and the various other restrictions. If you log on to Anthropic's Claude, it gives you a list of all the countries in the world except the countries in the European Union, because they don't do it here. So get yourself a VPN and get yourself on Claude. That's doing some very interesting things. There's some very, very powerful stuff on Claude. So use different LLMs. And the other thing I'm doing is I'm using various newsletters, and every day I probably see half a dozen new AI applications. And I think, wow, that's fantastic. And then the next day, that's even better. Right, so play with them. And have a bit, it's worth it to, invest the 20 euros a month in ChatGPT 4. Invest 10, 20 euros here and there. That's all they cost. And try them. If they're no good, okay, it's a wasted 10 or 20 euros, but that's a tiny amount of money in relation to the benefit you can get from them. And also embedded within some of these big things are amazing tools. Like today, I was introduced to Whisper. Whisper is a product within ChatGPT, right? And if I had Whisper running, you would see, I could run heavy traffic past me and everything, it would still hear me. And it will not only write down what I've said, it will punctuate it absolutely perfectly. Yeah, that's, the first time I played with Whisper, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I'm a rubbish typist, absolutely rubbish typist. I mean, Whisper is a dream come true, because I can just sit there and talk to my machine. You're probably getting the impression I like talking.
Very good. One more question, yeah?
Your point 3 there, train the critical faculties. I mean, it's not directly related to AI, I suppose, but I trust individual journalists and not the journals. This is something that I've struggled with for a long time, because there are fewer and fewer sources of information which you can trust.
Yep.
Most information channels are owned, and you are getting to see
Absolutely.
what people want you to see. How do you filter what's coming through to you? Because, it's not easy these days, right?
This is, oh boy, let me try and make this short as I possibly can. Yes, I do go by individual journalists, because all the media have owners and owners with agendas. I think I'm seeing some things coming along which, you think about AI fact-checking is becoming a thing. So that's the good news. The bad news is some of these media moguls are rich enough to flood the space with so much rubbish that, remember, a large language model is only going to fact check against the majority opinion. So if they somehow manage to make the majority opinion rubbish, then the whole game is up. But on the other side, I'm seeing, another problem. There is a way of overcoming LLM guardrails. Basically, you ask the same question time and time again, and the LLM eventually decides that it's going to go outside of its guardrails and it's going to tell you something extraordinary. Okay. Now, on the other hand, there's a lovely piece of work, which again is very recently done in the United States, where, would you believe it, artificial intelligence is far more effective than a human being in disabusing people who believe in conspiracy theories. Right. And 3 interactions with the AI, and they believe that JFK was killed in Dallas, that they believe the world is round, that they believe America went to the moon, and all the rest of that. So AI can be a phenomenal force for good. It's a battle, it's a balance. You just have your wits about you. You've got to come back to the critical faculties.
Great, thank you very much. I see. Okay, one more question.
All right, okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Dinos?
Thank you, Philip. You mentioned that was the revolution of COVID. And apparently, philosophically, looks like that the COVID lockdown was a bless instead of a curse for many industries.
Yes.
In a way, I think that we should have a lockdown every 5 years. But I'm joking a bit, but I have an objective asking that. Looking a bit more forward, why only every 5 years and not always having a lockdown? Why I say this, looks like all this stuff has been accelerated and we all live in the future after that lockdown. Would you see, from your experience, from the way you're talking about education and tech, eventually, in the future, it will be like a lockdown on everything, and that would help maybe humanity to understand all this and eventually develop.
Right. Thank you. That's an amazing question. I suppose it depends who you're locked down with. I do think that the COVID lockdown impact is going to continue for years and maybe decades. So I don't think we necessarily need to have a continuing, routine lockdown every so often. But the impact is going to be there for a very long time. I mean, the commercial market, because of working from home. I go walking in Malta, right? Before 2020, there was only me out there walking. Now, sometimes you go on the strand, you can't move for people running and walking their dogs, and they're all Maltese. It's been a complete revolution. So, all right, I'm making trite points, but I think you're right that there has always been, throughout history, a room and a space for people to withdraw and reflect. We used to call them monasteries. Now, where is that space and that opportunity? And I think one of the things which is possible using artificial intelligence, rather than people being unemployed, and actually my belief is that artificial intelligence will create more jobs, not less. So I'm not buying that. But I do think we'll be able to work an awful lot smarter. And one of the ways to be able to work a lot smarter is we will, not just university professors, but we will all be able to take sabbaticals. And I think that the sort of thing which you're talking about would become possible doing that. Now, obviously, you can't have a company-wide sabbatical because your competitors will just come take your market from you. But you could have rotating sabbaticals. And you could have, in a way, tasked sabbaticals. Okay, you're going off on sabbatical. Whilst you're doing that, can you think about... So I think there's an awful lot in what you're saying which is very valuable and I think AI can make possible.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, how do you think? It's okay?
Yep,
Can we
thank
finish?
you.
Thank
But
you very
guys
much,
are all
Philip.
thank you. Thank you.
And thank you all for participating. I know that it was a long and interesting story. I hope I will see you next time, and I will be very grateful for any kind of feedback. Have a nice evening. See you later. Bye.